media houses. Let's listen to former President Uhuru Kenyatta asking, what does the government want?
What does this government want? Because if it wants me, the fact that I've been silent doesn't mean I'm scared. Come for me. What does my mother have to do with anything? What does my children have to do with anything? Kama shida yenu ni mimi, I'm here. Right? Yeah, they know where I am 24/7. Right? Why all this? Intimidate a 90-year-old woman. Intimidate children. Right? If it is me you want, come and tell us what you want.
Linus, are his frustrations justified? Has this been long coming? Because President Uhuru Kenyatta, largely, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, has been busy brokering peace in neighboring countries. Of course, we saw him about the push and pull about Jubilee at their headquarters and at the National Delegates Conference. But really, anaonewa? Do you think anaonewa?
Let me try put this as clearly as I possibly can. A political abomination was committed. Mm-hmm. A line was crossed. This is unprecedented. That there is a former president of the Republic. And we've had the luck of having about 3 others before.
Yes.
Actually, in total 3, because there was Moi, who retired in 2002 and spent some time before he actually left us. Same to Mwai Kibaki, the 3rd president, was alive and lived peacefully after retirement and before he died. And we did a very big state funeral for both, one after the other. And then now we have Uhuru, the only living former president, who for the 2nd time is out in the public and in scenarios that are not exactly attractive, not exactly stately, not matching of the office that he represented. It's these small things that makes nations start crossing the line. Mm-hmm. Because I just want to look at our neighborhood, Tanzania, and how they use their former presidents. Mm-hmm. And they have had quite a number. They are reservoirs of advice. They are a reference point when the country is facing certain situations. They continue to advise sitting leaders on different things. And Julius Nyerere, when he retired in '85, continued to be a very influential figure way into his retirement, and in fact determining directly at least 3 elections after that. I happen to cover one that is a transition from President Mkapa to President Jakaya Kikwete.
Yes.
Jakaya Kikwete was actually very popular when Hassan Mwinyi was retiring, but on the advice of Julius Nyerere, he was put in the queue that you are young, hold on a bit, let's go with Mkapa for now. Mm-hmm. And they go with Mkapa, and then in 2005, and we were in Dodoma for the nomination of Jakaya Kikwete as candidate. And I remember him saying, Leo kura zimetosha. And that is how he was nominated. Now, when the transition was happening from the single party to multipartyism, because Tanzania went to multipartyism in 1995, it is Julius Nyerere who made ethics the big issue of the election. Mm-hmm. He made integrity the big issue of the election because he was questioning the qualification and the integrity of the then very popular leader of NCCR Mageuzi, that was Augustine Mrema, who was very, very popular, and it looked like he was going to get the numbers. And he famously said, siwezi kwenda Butiama kukaa na kuachia nchi itwaliwe na umbwa.
Yes.
That's the language he used. Because he thought, these guys are coming in and corruption will be the new way of doing things. And that is actually how Tanzania has kept official corruption on check. And I'm not saying Tanzania, there is no corruption, but you can certainly not compare it with what we do around here. And I'm just using that as an illustration of the space for retired presidents, the space for former presidents. Remember, in Kenya, for example, we've only had 4, actually 5 now, and 3 are dead, only 1 is alive.
Yes.
This is supposed to be the reference point. This is supposed to be the go-to person when it comes to some of the challenges that we face as a country. But is the political environment allowing that? Is the current decline, if I can put it that way, that actually started with former President Uhuru Kenyatta himself, where these offices now started becoming too regular, too mainstream, that now he himself will have to do and say things like, I'll defend my family, these are the number of guns that my children have.
Yeah.
I actually felt quite embarrassed because in Kenya, I thought we can be tidier than that. There are a lot of guns in the hands of the elite, and they are acquired when they want. And this kind of information was never right. But it also reminds me how immediate former Interior Cabinet Secretary went for William Ruto, Deputy President then, that, you know, he has this number of guards and this number of gates. The elite in this country, sometimes if they don't calculate how you are dealing with each other, then you will destroy a culture and it'll come and eat you up. If Uhuru has to defend his family from the gate of his son, that could be the trend going forward. All future presidents must be ready to stand at the gate of their sons to say they have so many guns, to say that we are going to defend them, because we are breaking, I don't know what Gashia you can call this, it's custom, it's not written. There shouldn't be written rules about how you treat each other. They are silent. You just know, former president, conduct yourself this way. Former president, you can't cross this line. Sitting president, you can't also cross this line. And these are very quiet, subtle lines. They are not in the Constitution. They are basically lines that are taught by our mothers.
John, yeah, subtle lines that should not be crossed, not written anywhere, but well known.
It's tradition.
Yeah.
It's tradition. And in any case, the falling out of former presidents and current president is not a particularly peculiar thing in Kenya.
Yeah.
The question, regardless of what caused that, or whether they are perception, truth, or real, we have that a problem in South Africa, right? We have a similar problem in Botswana. We have a similar problem in Malawi and Zambia. And indeed, they have been handled in a different manner. And as perhaps Linus is saying, is there an unwritten rule that presidents, former presidents, need to be held to this account, and they also need to hold themselves to a particular standard? Now, we have the case of Biden and Trump. Indeed, that's a different thing altogether. But we also have issues of where presidents have then, you've used the requisite wherewithal that they have for the betterment of the country.
Yes.
And until we handle this in a very more structured, dignified manner, and in concert with the Presidential Retirement Act, and indeed also other issues that come into play, then we are on the decline. And perhaps we might pay a little dearly. It happened in Somalia.
Yes.
It happened in South Sudan. And indeed, it has happened in Sudan. Remember Bashir?
Yes.
Remember Hosni Mubarak?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Remember this, the Angolan president?
Yes, Eduardo dos Santos.
Dos Santos.
Yeah.
Right? Remember too the Cote d'Ivoire president.
Bagbo.
Bagbo.
And what have you. And I think those are the issues that we have to do, and you can't let this thing get out of hand.
Caleb, I'm not justifying the treatment of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, but our former presidents, former President Kenyatta, Moi, and Kibaki, really retired when they were older. Uhuru Kenyatta is still younger. He probably could still be active in politics. Maybe this is one of the reasons why he's experiencing what we are seeing right now. He's younger, he's active. I mean, hey.
I think when he took power, both him and Ruto, were politically teenagers.
Yes.
It's a good one, yeah.
And I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sad when I saw him pleading with the media for help. Some people that he said, yes. People that he belittled, people he brutalized. He closed you guys down for some time. It was darkness.
2018.
Yes. So he actually abused his power thoroughly.
Yes.
Massively. Abuse of power when he was president. But I must say that what's been done is good. And then he made a tactical error when he said that he recognizes only Raila as his president.
Yes.
I think after swearing in, he should have come to terms with reality.
Yes.
That it's done and dusted. And then tell his former deputy, you are now the head of state, tuishi vizuri. But the government also crossed the line because you don't drag in the first lady and her grandchildren into your personal political wars. It's a cultural abomination.
Yes.
So I think the government needs to rethink and change tactic so that hold that lady in respect. She's old. The family must have done some historical injustices. That's part of history. But do not drag her and her children into your personal fist fights.
Exactly, and he talks about how security has been withdrawn. Gituku, when the president met senior editors, he talked about how he's retired and that whatever is happening in the country right now is a way of kufumba watu macho from the real issues that are facing this country. Maybe we can listen to former President Uhuru on Just Govern, and then Gituku can come in.
There are also allegations that you're financing the opposition to frustrate the government. I don't know.
Frustrate them from doing what? To frustrate them from doing what? You know, when you're a government, you're elected to rule. You're elected not to rule, actually, to govern. And to govern in accordance with the wishes of the people. Yeah? I am a retired person. Yes? Why don't they deal with the issues and the concerns that Kenyans are raising? That's what they should be dealing with. Not looking for scapegoats. Yeah, go deal with the issues that Kenyans are raising. Right? When I was in power, I was dealing with the issues that Kenyans were raising.
Sam, he says this is a ploy. Make him a scapegoat. There are real issues facing Kenyans, but ni kama unataka kufumba macho. Yeah.
Well, he was once the president of the Republic of Kenya, and he executed his mandate. He thinks, or he says that he did the best that he could, according to himself. His words, not mine. I'm just paraphrasing. So how did he fare in terms of dealing with politics, weaponizing politics? There's a lot that can be written about that. And I have no doubt that actually what is happening is the continuation of this weaponization of politics. Because if you look at the statement that was released by the Interior Cabinet Secretary, this is on Friday, he was talking about two paragraphs that are very critical for me. Paragraph 4, that on 19th of July 2023, a prime suspect was arrested while preparing to distribute a large number of crude weapons to facilitate criminals to inflict violence on the public. And of course goes ahead to indicate that they were also arrested with several sachets of what is believed to be assorted narcotic drugs. The subsequent paragraph talks about today afternoon, an operation has been going on targeting 3 homesteads within the current area where a total of 23 firearms, some of which are suspected to have been used in illegal activities. I don't think it's just a coincidence. It was deliberate to put those two paragraphs together.
Yeah.
There's a relationship that the government was trying to draw. Remember, such activities are taken, or such actions are taken by the police. Indeed, the officers that were there with the foreign number plates are said to come from the institution of the police. Remember, the separation of roles. The National Police Service under the mandate of the IG. He gives the orders. the Cabinet Secretary for Interior can only intervene on matters of policy, not investigations, not nothing. So when a Cabinet Secretary is too well informed about the activities in the afternoon,
operational details,
yes. An afternoon in Karen, some 3 homes, very ready to give a lot of information. And then, few days later, actually 2, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, who deals with matters of military, to advise the President on matters of military, how to protect the country from foreign aggression, is also very informed, Aden Duale, talking about that you can speak to a gentleman by the name Rashid, but also tells him on what he must do, that he's now retired, stop financing demonstrations. How can he be so informed if it was not a strategy? In fact, that weekend, we heard of the chief whip, or is it majority whip, Silvana Sosoro. Again, very informed and very animated, dramatic, telling Wananchi of what exactly has been happening and what the former president has been doing. Really? Very informed. The political class Osoro is not a policeman. Maybe never will be.
Reminds me of what the leader of majority said just a few hours before the invasion of the farm in Ruiru a few months ago. Linus?
I just want to agree with Sam here, and there is something that also came out of the briefing with the media editors. You know, after the home raid, former President Kenyatta hosted editors in his home and office not far from here, and actually in the neighborhood of State House.
Next door.
Next door. And there's one thing that he said, which I think the political class really need to sort of internalize, especially considering how fast these things can change. You see, not long ago, just a few months ago, Uhuru Kenyatta was the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces. You know, they all like putting that in the name of the president. Commander-in-chief, meaning you're in charge of quite an arsenal of weaponry and persons. And a few months later, you are at your son's gate, alone defending it, unarmed. And he said to the editors, power is fleeting. Power is fleeting. And in the era of limited term limits, you know, where it's 5 years and 10 years, former President Kenyatta's term actually tells and should tell politicians it's not a long time.
No.
Just the other day, they were in white shirts and
red ties.
Red ties, you know, and now it's over. It's another time. So this issue of weaponizing the state institutions to sort out personal, short-term issues will only bite you again. And we can see it can actually bite a lot earlier than one can imagine.
All right. Okay, because we have guests today, we're going to let you, John, and Caleb have the last word. John, maybe we can listen to you first.
Yes. My worry and my fear is that there is a decline in Kenya, or rather there is a fear and worry as to what the future portends. And perhaps the biggest fear is really, do we bring all our resources together and perhaps not take our successes for granted? Indeed, we have been the hegemon in the region, but we have also been the largest, perhaps, economic giant. But we must not take it for granted. Kenya needs to rally and bring its people together. And I think we needed to accept that if we do not hold ourselves to a higher ambition, to a higher target, we run the risk of crumbling. And this region, it has happened. Perhaps I'll just give you a background. How many militaries have been destroyed in Uganda? 4. 4. In Ethiopia, 5. The entire security structure destroyed during Haile Selassie, Mengistu, and what have you. Now, what has happened, what is happening in Ethiopia, has a lot to do with that. What has happened in Uganda, again, has a lot to do with that.
Yes.
What has happened in Sudan, again, and what we are seeing even now, is when you abuse and use state apparatus to create trouble.
As Caleb, you come in, I'd just like to point out that to date, the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, has said absolutely nothing about the operation in Karen. The former president has come out to say we have only 6 guns. We had about 23 that were being looked for in 3 homes in Karen. But what is your final word?
I think Koome ni mtu wa mikono. Anafanya kazi ya wadosi. So unfortunately, I don't think he's being allowed to run, to do his mandate as a IG, and probably that's why he can't say anything so far. But I wish we could have the olden church leaders like Bishop Okulu and Cardinal Maurice Otunga, the Ndingimana Anzekis of this world, the Manasseh Couriers. We need such elders from church and civil society, and we still have some of them alive. Our former CJs, Mutunga and Maraga, those are men and women that we need to be listening to. We need to bring these two, I still call them ill-behaved teenagers, political teenagers, because the way they're behaving, the combat mood of both the president and the opposition is like some true ones fighting in some
sandpit.
Yes, sandpit.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to separate them until they win their prize. Probably is an ice cream.
Yeah.
But Kenya is not a prize. Yeah. We need to bring them back to order. We need to sit them down. We need our country back. And the Kenyan citizens need to take that country back from these individuals. Otherwise, if we allow it to go the Rwanda way or the Sudan way, then it will be a serious tragedy.
Yeah, this is the only country we have that we call home. Thank you very much, John Gashie, Caleb Atemi, for being with us on the first ever Deep Press edition of the News Gang. Your contribution was invaluable. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you, Linus. Thank you, Gituku. Yvonne, thank you for watching from home. Keep the conversation going. The hashtag is News Gang. Be safe, take care, and until next week, good night.
Good night.